Hi, this is a video looking at question 5 and question 6 on the paper 2 reading exam. This is non-fiction. So looking at question 5 first, this is an example of a question. So remember on question 5 and question 6, you'll read in both texts. This one was about sharks. So both of the texts are about sharks. And the question was, to answer the following question, you will need to use both texts. Question 5, explain what we learn about the food the different species of sharks eat. It's out of 4 marks. So remember, if a question is worth 1, 2, 3 or 4 marks, all it basically is information retrieval. So picking quotes out what the examiner wants you to look at. Okay, in this case, it's about sharks. So question 5, it's 4 minutes, 4 marks. It's the same as question 1 and question 3, but it's for both texts, so information retrieval. The only difference is you're going to try and put it in bullet points under subheadings. If it's 4 marks and there's 2 texts, it makes sense. There's 2 quotes from each text. You don't have to compare in this question. A lot of people waste time. It's only a 4-mark question. All you need to do is look in both texts. You don't need to say in text A it says this. However, in text B it disagrees. You don't have to do any of that. No PE is needed, so you don't need to say this is what this suggests or anything like that. The most important thing is you do not need to compare in this question, okay? It's a simple question, it's a 4-mark question. Just find what they want you to find and move on to question 6, which is worth 10 marks. You've got to be clear which text you're talking about. So the easiest way of doing that is by using the titles that are on the articles or the writers, the author's names. Yeah, so in this case, one's called Shark Attack, and one's called Surfer Uses Surfboard to Fight Sharks. So I'm going to call one Shark Attack and one Fight Shark and just underline it. Okay, and remember the question is what we learn about the food. So you basically go through it, and there's a couple of texts for each one. So in the Shark Attack article, it says that sharks eat plankton and the tiger sharks eat anything and seals. And in the Fight Shark one, it says some sharks eat dolphins and some eat plankton. So again, all I've done here is put the titles for each of my extracts. And I put whale sharks feeds only on plankton. Tiger sharks will eat just about anything they catch alive. And in the Fight Shark article, I put tiger sharks will eat a dolphin carcass. Basking sharks eat only plankton. So you won't get marks if you just put an unabridged quote. So for example, if my bullet point literally just said feeds only on plankton, I won't get a mark. You've at least got to do a little sentence starter, which is the topic of the question, okay? And then all the examiner will do will mark your quotes, 4 out of 4. Okay, so another example for question 5 is James Cratnall and Ben Fogle here. They went to the South Pole together. Quite a similar question, actually. If you want to, you can pause the video. Okay, and the question is, explain what we learn about the food Scott and Fogle took with them on the expedition. So Scott is extract B, which is like 200 years ago, and Ben Fogle's the middle one. Again, explain what about the food they took with them. If you want to pause the video, pause the video. And again, you're just doing the subheading. So Fogle said that they had salami, chocolate, and cheese. They also had spicy mint with rice. And Scott said they had rationed meat. They had a thin breakfast. Scott says the food raised our spiritual. Actually, you probably would get that mark because that's not to do with the question. But again, the examiner is just going to mark the quote. So lay it out like I've laid it out. Again, you won't get a mark if you just put spicy mint. You've at least got to do a bit of a sentence starter. Okay, question 6. It's 13 minutes and there's 10 marks. And if you were going for a grade 8 or 9, you do have to compare in this question. But with my students, you're looking for grade 4 and grade 5. So because of that, we're going to do exactly the same as question 5, but we're going to need more quotes. It's worth 10 marks, so you need to try and find 4 or 5 quotes from each text. Again, note, for my students who are good for grade 4 and grade 5, you don't need to compare in this question and no PEs are needed. Again, just like question 5, you do not need to compare in this question. Okay, so an example, this one was about 2 texts about people climbing, going over the Niagara Falls on a tightrope. Again, it does say in the question you can compare. I'm aware it says that, but for my students who are looking for the grade 4 or grade 5, I want you to sell out exactly like question 5. You can get 8 out of 10 by not comparing. So in this case, the question is about what the people did, what the 2 walkers did as they were crossing Niagara false, and only this. So if you told me anything about the spectators, what they did after or did before, you're not going to get a mark. So always focus on the question. So again, you're just going to set it out. So in one of the extracts, it said he gave an interview, he waved at people, he ran the last few steps, he ran towards the finish, and then the other guy sat himself on the wire, lied at full length, did a back somersault, and took a picture. Again, I need my little sentence start. I'm not going to get a mark for just going an interview. You've got to make sure you give me a little sentence starter and make it into a nice little sentence. And again, all the examiner is going to do is mark the quotes. Okay, again, if you want to pause the video on this one and do it yourself, okay, this time it's both of these texts are about expeditions to the South Pole. Compared the hardships, so basically the difficult things they went through. Again, use the same structure, their surnames, underline it, and do the bullet points. So Fogel, so let's do Scotland, for example. It was hard as they felt miserable. The weather was very cold. The temperature was above freezing. It was also hard as they had drip pools on the floors of the tents. It was also hard as it was utterly impossible to move. Fogel says he thought he was going to die. He says the trip was grueling. Fogel thought I could die here. They fell into a huge crack in the ice. It was also hard as they went across 481 miles of snow and ice in 18 days. Again, I'm not going to get a mark if I just put my quotes, but my little sentence starter here definitely would get myself 8 out of 10 on this question. Again, just bullet point, just do a little sentence starter and you'll get the marks.